Welcome, Dhruv.
Welcome. Oh well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. I've always wanted to have a chat with you. I saw you once on stage,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was. I've only seen you once on stage, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And it was.
I believe it.
You had a.
I don't didn't have any gigs.
You don't gig a lot, do you? We'll get to your work ethic later,
All
but
right, all
your
right.
material is very deep. And for open micers out there who haven't seen much comedy, go check out Dhruv. It's very deep. It's very Patrice O'Neal-y. I got that vibe watching you, and I reckon is he
Right.
one? I wanted to ask you: is he one of your favorite comics, Patrice?
For sure, for sure.
Okay,
Definitely.
yeah. I smelt that. But
Definitely.
I like it when comics go deep. You know,
Mhm.
I respect Seinfeld, but I like Dave Chappelle more because
Yeah.
it's just this is what my soul is made up of.
Right.
Are you the same?
Um. Well, yeah. I mean, it's when I got into it, I kind of got into it for the wrong reasons, really, man. Because like I wasn't a funny person. I was never. When I first started telling people, I started doing comedy in high school, and when I first started telling people I want to do comedy, everyone was like, "You can't. There's no way. You're not gonna." I did a gig in my assembly, bro, in front of everyone
Yeah.
at my school. It was like my fifth gig. I was so cocky. I was so arrogant at that time because I was at the peak of my. I hadn't bombed yet.
Were you dying? Did you die in that gig?
No, I did good.
Oh, you
And
did good.
yeah, oh yeah,
So
it was.
fuck them. Whoever said that you can't gig and you're not funny.
Oh yeah, but they didn't understand because when regular people look at comedy, they don't know what it really is. They just say they think it's we're funny all the time, and you just get up there and you just be funny, and then
Yeah.
you just get up. They don't realize it's all writing. I I've been on stage since I was like 5 because when I first moved to New Zealand, I couldn't speak English, so my mum used to make me do poetry recitals and plays and all the time, like since I was like 5. So I've always had a gig coming up since I was like 5.
Really?
But I hated it. Hated it with all my heart, man.
Well, because
Because
you're doing poetry. That's why.
I was getting told what to say, and I was the only boy.
Did you have to do your own poetry, or they'd give you stuff to recite?
No, they give me some. I couldn't even speak English, bro.
Oh,
So
fuck.
they were literally giving me English words to memorize. I don't even know what I'm saying.
That's how
in
you
the
learn the
beginning.
language.
That's what helped along with like school and like everything else. But Indian, yeah, I can't be behind. I can't even be. I have to be ahead. Like by the time I couldn't speak English when I was 5, and by the time I was grade 9, I was in the scholarship like accelerated English class. Like, so it's like that's Indian. That's just Indian culture. It's not nothing to do with me. It's my mum. It's just trauma. So, but like,
So your mum built your education like they build a Formula One car. It was completely engineered, like put
well,
you
it's
through, like
yeah. It just comes down to like if you see like Aussie rules football parents,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
or cricket parents over here, because that's your culture here is very athletic based. You know what I mean? And that's where that
Whereas yours is academic.
we have. In Texas they have like
We're shooting off topics here, left, right.
we're
and
gonna.
center.
This is gonna
I
be a
do
problem. This is
apologize.
gonna be a problem.
Stream of consciousness, listening, everyone.
This is gonna be a problem, but whatever. In Texas, you know how they got like they got like a real big like high school football star. They got like home of Chip whatever his name is, like Chip McFadden or whatever, like the great all-star quarterback or whatever. In India, they have the 3 kids with the highest grades on a billboard, like, and lives on this street, like, and it's got his grade like 99%,
Really?
96%,
Wow.
97. Yeah, it's a big. It's what like that's why America have a free H-1B visa. If you if you get a job at like one of these big companies, the IT companies, you can just get a visa like
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
I believe America still has something called the H.
H-1B.
Yeah.
That's the visa I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
No matter where you live in the world,
Yeah,
if you smash your grades,
yeah,
you're in.
yeah. I don't think it's for anywhere. I think there's a few places that they've limited it to, but India's one of them. And yeah, they just come in and take that talent, man. And everyone's fishing for that. Like
Isn't that
everyone's.
smart though? Like as Americans, like it's a fucking great strategy. Just
I'm-
take the cream.
I mean, it's the same thing with like what Saudi Arabia did with their oil. Because Saudi Arabia found their oil in like 1950s, right? And they already had all these buyers and because we were already well into the industrial era, so we needed oil, but they had no infrastructure. They were still like camel people. So there's like we don't have any engineers. So they literally had to import in all the talent to extract this oil, refine it, and send it out and all that. So that's what their whole thing is built on expats, and the people are not very educated because, I mean, it also helps when you're a dictatorship, and it helps keep you in power when your people are dumb.
So Saudi Arabia in the 50s imported a whole heap of engineers to mine the oil?
Well, it was a smart. Well, the King Faisal, I think, was at the time. He had a decision to make. He was like, "I got all this. I'm sitting on all this oil, and everyone's waiting to come in. I got to deal with the Americans because the Americans are going to protect us and from all the other, tribes that are around from there. And I think they're Sunni dominated as well. So Iran's right there. Iran's Shia. So it's like, so they said, yeah, America will protect us, but we need to do this quick. We can't wait for our people to become engineers, like good enough to do this job well. Like we have to wait 30 years for that. So instead, we'll just fly in expats, and then they started just building a city, bro. It was crazy. In like 3 years, they go from straight like Indian-looking streets, like dirt roads, camels walking down the street, right? And it's in 2 years, it's like Dubai. Like it looks like 1970s version, but roads, cars, everything. All the American contractors just came through and just built everything.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the original train of thought we were having.
Yeah, of course.
Stand up.
Yeah.
New Zealand is where you started
Yeah.
reciting poetry.
Yeah.
From 5 years of age, and that's where you learn.
Well, yeah, all sorts of stuff. So poetry, prose, all that stuff, and then but I hated doing it, and so then when I found out about stand up, I was like, people get to go on stage and do whatever they want.
When did you find out you wanted to be a comic?
Ooh, not for a while. I didn't really think it was an option for me until I'll tell you what. Honestly, I was always a fan of stand up. I always just loved jokes. Like
me too. But did you know you wanted to do it then?
No,
I didn't.
I never thought I never thought I was a funny person either. I never, even now, I don't think I'm funny.
Okay.
I just like.
You don't oscillate?
What do you mean?
You don't have days where you're like, shit, I think I'm funny today. I'm saying, everyone has days where they're on, where you're saying witty things at work or with your friends, and you get up on stage and everything clicks and you say something funny. And then you have other days where you're just, you eat a dick on stage and then you're not really funny and you can't think of anything clever. I think a true comedian oscillates between good days and bad days, right?
Right.
That's just the law of the universe, I think. You can't be always on. And if they say, oh, he's always on or she's always on, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, I think funny. I mean, what funny really is, people tend to treat funny like it's a category, like smartness, funniness, athleticism. It's like a category of attributes that you can have. But really, funny is understanding an energy and how to either exacerbate it or break it. And there's a lot of people. You don't necessarily need to be a comedian. I mean, like a lot of people know how to do it.
Wait, say that again, because I think that's it's going over my head. Say that again. What do you think funny is?
Like funny is like being able to like play an instrument. It's like if you learn early, what funny is. It's almost like a wavelength that you either learn how to tap into or you can't. And most people, I think, do. Most people can be. I'm talking about being deliberately funny. Like everyone can be, unintentionally drop a paint bucket on your head and everyone laughs at you. But like,
of course, you're talking intentionally funny.
Intentionally funny. Like people who are intentionally funny, it's just like for me, why I say I don't think I'm really funny. I think because I love reading. I always loved reading and I always love writing, and I'm just a writer and I just think I understand. I watched it and I was a huge stand-up fan and I loved jokes. I used to always read jokes. You remember in the school like Scholastic, that book catalog thing that used to be able to. I used to get the joke book every time. Like I just think I like the joke format, but it changed for me because the thing is, that's what I was initially trying to say, was I'm kind of a fraud with it because when I started doing comedy, it was just my way out of working. Like I just did not want to have 8 hours of my day taken up, and I was just like, comedians get to just work at night, right? Like I was like, oh yeah, people they can just fuck off during the day. I didn't realize you gotta fucking work fucking hard, but yeah, I was just, and it was mainly because, and also I was like, my number one thing, man, was always freedom. That was all I wanted, is just freedom to be able to do what I wanted to do, like talk about what I want to talk about. I don't want any kind of box. That was how I was when I was a kid. So comedy to me was just like, okay, I can be into, because I'm a dude who, I get real into something for like 3 months. And then I'll be off it, and then I'll be real into something else. So I was always scared of picking something that I'm only going to be into while I'm picking it, and then I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life until I'm into it again. Do you know what I mean? So
of course,
I was like, writing's the only thing that lets you really be into whatever you want and still be able to write, because you can just write about that, whatever you're into. So, and comedy was the fewest rules out of any form of writing. There's only one rule. all the other writing, there's a lot of like if you're writing a novel, there's story structure and all the stuff that you need to character development, world building. You need to really learn how to write a novel or a script or all that stuff, and that stuff's fun too.
Can I just press pause there for 1 second? Because when I started stand up, I gave myself one rule, and the rule was you have to get to a punchline within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you start getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
Did you impose those rules upon yourself when you started jumping on stage?
100%.
Yeah,
But
because it's almost like a tether. Because
Yeah.
as an open micer, you need a tether to reality. Every 30 seconds, you hit a punchline. Otherwise, you're just going to fucking waffle on and you are gone.
Yeah, and I think you talked about it on an earlier podcast, and I definitely agree with you that you need to learn foundational elements of like writing a joke, and that keeps you to that as well. And also, when you start out, if you're honest with yourself, you gotta admit to yourself you have no idea what's gonna work. So you gotta keep yourself open, and you gotta kind of start at zero. Like when I decided to do stand up, I was under every impression that I was gonna suck at it, and this is gonna be. I know how to be on stage, and I know how to be comfortable because I've been on stage my whole life. So I'd done debating, lots of stuff. I'd always been in front of people talking. So I knew I had that part down, but I was like, this joke thing is gonna take a minute, and Russell Peters was the one that really made me think I could do it because he was an Indian dude, and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
is that what you needed to see?
I don't know.
Because I didn't need to see Wog Boy to think I could do comedy.
No, but there was something about that special, that one where he's wearing a white shirt, and the one that went real viral on YouTube that really popped him off. There was something about that one in particular.
Was it the content?
I feel like I learned how to write a joke in it.
Really?
I really did. I felt like he displayed so easily like the formula of you set a premise up, then you explain, then you either have a punchline or you explain where you're going with the premise, and then you act it out. And he was so clear with he says the thing, then he's going to show the comparison, and then he's going to act out both.
Okay.
And then it was
so
like,
you could see his structure, and you fell in love with it.
And the only thing I had I thought was funny was talking about race and doing an Indian accent. Those are the only two things that I was like, surefire, bang. I suck at comedy, but this was gonna work. So all my jokes.
Well, it's an easy vein to tap, especially in Australia, just to get
New Zealand did as well. Same easy vein. So
just to get them on side before you go deeper, like you really.
I wasn't even
like you do.
I wasn't even going deep at that point.
At that point, you weren't.
No, I was all. My mom's mad at me. Do impression of my mom. What every stereotypical minority comedian is doing.
Yeah.
when they first start out, like that.
I hear you. I was doing Schwarzenegger for the first few years.
Yeah. You got to do what you can. You got to do what you can that was the attitude I had as well.
Yeah, you were like a homeless junkie begging for laughs.
Oh yeah.
Anything.
I literally, man, I walked around with a notebook, and anytime I got a laugh in general conversation, I'd write down what I said.
Yeah, I do that too. Did you used to keep a diary?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I kept a diary for my first 400 gigs.
I've still got it too. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And every now and then I read up on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got a diary now actually, but I haven't written in it for a long time. But Why
did we do that? Why did we keep a diary of?
I really wanted
gigs?
to figure out what it was because I really didn't know what it was. I was very open about like having no misconceptions about. I don't know how to write a joke at all, and I need to figure out what it is that's funny and what it is that's. It took me a minute. Even now, it's like to have the confidence to be able to say, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about and then make it funny.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to move into that level. Like, you're not a comedian until you can do that, in my opinion. You're a comedian if you you are a comedian, but it's like you're a white belt.
Absolutely.
You're a white belt until you can pick something and be like, okay, I'm gonna write a joke about this.
Yes.
Then you're like a blue. When you start doing that, then you're like a blue belt. You can start actually learning the game.
And what does our craft a disservice is when white belts, to use your analogy, is when white belts tackle subjects like pedophilia and rape and fuck it up, and all of a sudden everyone's like, you can't joke about rape, you can't joke about pedophilia. Actually, you can. Black belts like Jimmy Carr have, and they do it well. Louis C.K. does, all right, whatever he's done aside. And Richard Pryor.
Yeah, but I think audiences can tell. Audiences can tell. Even the most novice person can be like, it's an energy thing. Like, Izzy's had so many mentions on this podcast, by the way. I was just going back through episodes, by the way, so I'm going to mention him as well. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah,
A good
Izzy
comic.
Ali, who was on one of the early episodes.
That's
Great,
right.
Great act if you can see him.
And great podcast as well. I love history, and I learned a lot about the Greeks and the Armenians.
Oh, stay on track though.
Yeah,
Stay on track.
All
So
right.
your performance, your diaries,
yeah.
Um,
No. But,
white belts.
yeah, me and Izzy, we have this concept where we talk. We talk about the difference between a lot of comedians, even new ones. Like you'll notice this. Some comics, they go on stage and there's almost like a piece of glass in front of them. They act like they're not there in the room. Like it's almost, and it's a weird energy thing that if you don't learn to get past that, you're only going to ever get to a certain level.
So
what
are you saying? You're saying that there's a comedian on stage who is performing their material on autopilot rather than snapping out of it and taking the pulse of the room and being in the moment.
No, I think it's a deeper thing than that because it stretches beyond comedy. It's some people act out of how they look doing the thing that they do rather than doing the thing that they do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sort of.
Okay, I'll try and give a real clear example.
Are you saying, I'll give you an example if I'm correct. When I first started stand-up, I tried to sound less woggy, and now I just let my voice come out as it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
100%.
I try not to become something I'm not.
Yes, and when you're young, it's tough not to do that.
Yeah.
It's tough not to act in a way that you think you're supposed to, like, that looks right, rather than just acting in the way that the situation requires.
Sure, you are what you are, so be
right.
Be
so
that.
So some comics come in automatically having that. Like from day one, there was no glass there. Because when you do that, when you're always acting in a way that you think I'm acting this looks right, so I'm going to act this way. You're putting so much mental energy into keeping both things alive. You don't realize that there's a almost something in between you and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And other people notice it. They're like, oh, this person's not here.
Yes.
They're like, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And when you take that on stage, audiences notice that too. And I think that's what gets in the way of people, like you're saying, white belts getting up and talking about stuff, especially young dudes who, and this is the other big thing. Early on, bro, I couldn't go deep because I didn't know anything. I was 18. The fuck did I have? I didn't actually know anything.
Yeah, same
to go
here.
deep. Like
I can't tackle a subject. I couldn't tackle a subject like that.
You gotta,
and now I still think twice and long and hard before tackling a subject like that.
You gotta live. There's a reason why you go back through the history of comedy. There's very few comics that are under 30 that are prolific, that are really good, and even the ones that are, their performances are brilliant, impressions, stuff like that.
Yeah,
their material is not really like a George Carlin or Louis C.K. like tackling deep, like a poster child for a young comic. I guess would be like Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy would be the biggest under 30 comic to make it.
Yeah.
Like massive. And he's a performative comic. Unbelievable performer.
Absolutely.
Everything impressions, everything act out. So it's like when you're young, you don't have anything to say.
I think a stand-up can be compared to like a good red wine. It gets better with time and age, and I have no issue being in a green room as a 57 or 58-year-old man about to get up on stage. I won't feel like I don't belong with a bunch of young kids in the green room going, who's this old fuck? No, I've been around a long time. I've got some shit to say.
Right.
So I don't think, because I remember having this conversation with Paul Sharplin, who's in his 50s, and we sort of talked about a similar subject matter, and I'm like, dude, it's a great age. You're fucking refined. You're old. You've been there. You've done that.
Yeah.
You can draw on so much.
Mm-hmm. It's a big advantage. I mean, it's a form of writing. Any form of writing, that's the case. I mean, writing is literally putting your ideas. You got to have some ideas. You got to have something there. You got to go through some shit to get that. No other way to. You got to see some shit to be able to say some shit. Like you got to.
Yeah. Take a drink. Cheers.
Take a drink. No, I was gonna. Before we were talking though, so you're helping this dude out with this material. I don't want to talk about comedy the whole time though.
Talk about whatever you want.
All right.
Talk about history. You like history.
Oh, well, okay. You
Whatever
guys did a pretty good one though. You and Izzy and all that. But I like how you're a real good interviewer.
Am I? Okay.
Because I one thing that makes me a little, it's not your fault though. Like in my favorite moment, this is just a subjective thing, it's my opinion. But when I'm watching your podcast, people will be talking and they'll be talking about something, and then you pick out something in what they say, and you're like, let's dig a little deeper in this,
Uh-huh.
and they never follow you. They never follow you into like what you're like Matt O'Neill. I think he was talking about like he was like, and you were like, why do you hate it though? You kept bringing it back to that, and he never answered you. Like you got away with that.
Because maybe he can't answer it.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe it's a feeling you get.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
like,
maybe that feeling of jumping in a car in winter, leaving your family, driving across the city to an open mic where there's 7 people. Maybe you can't distill that into a word. Maybe it's the feeling. Maybe that's why he hates stand-up. That's why I hate stand-up in fucking June, July, and August. It's so fucking cold and it's full of shitty open mics and there's not many good gigs. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a weird place with stand-up right now. For me, man.
Just never give up, man. I know it's like I'm in a difficult... Look, I had this... I'm in a difficult spot with stand-up at the moment as well because of the ever like the perpetual lockdowns and the fact that my diary keeps getting wiped out with paid work and I'm stuck in open mics. I'm not bagging open mics, but I feel like I'm going back... It's almost like you're playing AFL and now you're back down to like open mics and it's tough.
Yeah.
You want, I built up years of experience to play in rooms that have 40, 50 people during the week and 200 on the weekend. And now they're gone. And I don't have any problem with publicans because they're like, we can't. It's 1 person per 4 square meter. It's not economically viable to have a stand-up show. So the show's gone. So it's tough, but I said to myself the other day, just keep gigging. And that was the late great Dave Grant who said that to me one day. He goes, never stop gigging, bro. Just never stop gigging. No matter what's going on in your life, find the time to just touch it at least once a week in the darkest moments.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it a little bit, just to register a pulse so that familiarity doesn't escape you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
So why are you in a dark place with stand-up?
Oh, it's mine's more for just from a material standpoint. Like when I got into stand-up, one of the main driving reasons I got into it was because I felt like my biggest driving thing in life was to figure it out. I just wanted to know, like, what was going on. Like, if
what do you mean? What was going on?
What's the point?
What's the point of stand-up?
Of life.
What's the point of life?
Yeah, what's the point of life?
What is the point of life?
What is it? I mean...
Is it hedonism?
No, I don't think so.
Pursuit of happiness?
I don't know.
What is it?
The meaning of life?
Yeah, do you know what the ancient Greeks think the meaning of life is?
What the ancient Greeks think?
The ancient Greeks defined happiness as a pursuit of excellence in something you're good at, but giving back to the community as best as you can in your own time.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, happiness. Yeah, I mean, you can't pursue happiness because it's a relative concept.
Yeah.
You're always going to be sad or happy, relative to being less sad or less happy, or more happy or less sad, whatever the case may be. But I was more like I think the meaning of life is to see and to show. That's why I think the purpose of life is. The purpose of the universe is not just life. Everything. To see and to show.
What capacity? Go deeper.
I'll get there in a minute. But do you want me to talk about the comedy thing, or do you want to just get into this?
Yes, please. Whatever you want to get off your chest first.
It's nothing I really want to get up.
It would be
comedy
good for you
thing
to answer the comedy thing first.
Okay, well, the comedy thing is, I wanted answers. I wanted to like figure out certain things, and I felt like comedy had like answers in there, little bits of truth, little bits of they were touching on something, and it was a vehicle for that. And writing was in general, but that was always my priority more than the content, the philosophy, the actual figuring out.
Do you mean by writing stand-up, you will attain what your meaning of life is through all the material you write? You'll be able to step back and look objectively and go, that's my meaning.
That was my rationale. That was my plan.
Yeah, that's good.
That was my
vomit it all out.
Yeah,
and sift through it,
and just be in that soup, because I felt like that's what comedians were doing. Like be around people who are doing that.
Yes.
And when I was young, that's what I thought it was, and in general also just being in a writing. It extended out further than comedy, like it just in general, just to all writing and stuff like that. So Uh, Ralph Waldo Emerson was a big hero of mine. Like, so lots of like just thinkers, philosophers. So I was more into that. So then when I came and started doing comedy, I mean, I I didn't put my heart into the craft of it and the business of it. I was more interested in the concepts. And anyway, so like in like a couple of years ago, I got to a point where I had an experience on a lot of acid that I actually ended up getting like my answers. I got my That's why I said my personal life is see and show. That's where I figured it out. And like I got everything. I got what I was looking for. And when I started doing comedy, I was able to be honest because I could just keep getting out there and questioning. Because that's what comedy kind of is. It's questioning and putting your pain out there. Why? Why the fuck? Like, it's that. Now I have to go up and pretend to do that because I don't feel like that anymore.
Ah.
So
So what are you going to do now? Because if you go back to your original thought about the glass, the performance, that analogy,
exactly,
you have to be real to yourself.
That's right.
So
And
maybe your character changes. You evolve.
yeah, no, that's out of the. That's I definitely have to evolve if I'm going to keep doing it. But right now I'm not out of it. I'm still doing comedy, but the barrier is being able to now. All I feel like talking about is my perspective as it is now, and it's more to an agenda than being funny. Like the joke is secondary in my head. So I'm still gonna get the joke in there because I respect the art, and you can't just get up there and give a TED talk. You have to have jokes in there. So
Yeah.
I'm figuring out a way to try and make it funny, which is what we're talking about. You
Yeah.
start being a comedian when you start making what you want to talk about funny.
Mm.
So I'm trying to start figuring out how to do that, but the problem is I feel so happy, and it's such happy news. It's such a happy, positive perspective. It's very hard to make it funny.
But the world fucking needs happiness and positivity, so maybe you'd be a breath of fresh air,
Yeah,
man.
but comedy is a weird place for it. Comedy's negative. Comedy's very negative. Everything is you shitting on something.
It is, but
So I
comedians,
gotta-
we can spin shit.
So my method that I'm trying right now is I'm trying to shit on negativity,
Yeah.
which is
Spin it.
a way to do it. But like, yeah. But anyway, getting into
That's very creative.
yeah.
But don't feel hard done by because I think I don't know why, but I watched an Einstein documentary today because I was bored, and something resonated. He had the same problem in physics for 10 years. For 10 years, he felt like shit. For 10 years, every day he'd wake up and punch out calculus and formulas to no avail. For 10 years, he carried this burden, and he hated it, and he'd write to his friends and say, I fucking hate this. 10 years I've been going at this and I can't get it. And then after 10 years, he collapsed it all down into the special theory of relativity.
Right.
So I'm like, hey man, a stand-up is, all right, stand-up's nothing like physics, but it is sort of like writing formulas for stage that result in surprise punchlines. And so you just got to keep going. And these ideas that I have on my whiteboard behind you, I can't make them funny yet, but just I got to keep grinding away.
Yeah, it's a craft just like anything.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
What else am I going to do?
Yeah. No, that's the other thing. Like I literally can't do anything else. Like literally, this is all I have. Like literally, like I don't have any other skills.
Well, we can, but we don't want to.
Yeah.
Deep down inside, we can do something else. We can always do something else.
Yeah, true.
But we choose
True.
deep down.
True. No,
No.
I'll be writing for sure. Either way, I'll be writing. But
Do you have a structure? Do you write
stand-up.
every day, or do you write a couple
No.
times a week, or do you write when it takes you?
Well, this is the problem. See, I told you, I used to be the dude who wrote a lot. I had my diary, I had my shit. Because I used to really be into comedy. Comedy was my identity, man. Like, it was like my
Yeah,
thing.
I know that feeling.
And then I didn't need it anymore. I used to need comedy. And
What made you not need comedy?
I got what I wanted out of it. Not out of it, but I got the real goal of what I wanted, I got that. And I achieved it. So
Okay.
So the wanting part or the grinding in misery that you just explained of Einstein, like I'm finished.
Mm.
I got that thing. So it's more like how do I spend my time now? Like basically, like yeah.
And what's the
Yeah.
meaning of your life? You said see and show. What is it? If you
The
could-
purpose of life.
Yeah.
The purpose of everything, the universe.
the purpose of the universe.
Yeah, the purpose of the universe is
Wow,
to see and show,
that's fucking huge.
yeah.
What is its purpose?
Yeah.
Oh,
It is, yeah.
What is
The
it?
physical universe is to see and show. Yeah.
What's see and show? To reveal itself,
Yeah.
show itself what it is. What in the form of like particles and
I mean, this is the best.
fields
This is
affecting fields.
it's hard to wrap your head around a little bit, but it's a simple thing, but it's a little bit hard to understand. But this is the best way I could put it. Nothing and something are not opposites, right? Like hate and love, or sound and silence, or light and dark. They can't be opposites because they occupy the same realm. They have to, as soon as one comes into the existence, the other one has to be, because it's all relative. So in order to say silence, you have to have sound
Yeah.
to be able to say that, because silence is the absence of sound,
Okay.
and sound is the absence of silence, right? So when you have that that duality that exists everywhere in this, the only thing you can't have in this physical world is everything together.
Yeah.
Light and dark, sound and silence, infinity, no time, no space. Like, this is the word of finity. That word is infinity. So that has to be death. That's the other world. And that has to be one, right? Because that's the opposite of breaking into many. One is the only thing. Like, how I can define myself is that I have a locus of sight, which is in here. The reason I can see my hand is because I'm not my hand, right? I have to not be my hand in order to see it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm me and my hand, I can't see either. So as everything, which is the one, the everything, the death world, you can't perceive anything. That's where awareness lives, outside the bounds of separation. It's completely together. So that thing can't see or show, because you need separation to be able to see or show.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the duality of this universe, which is the universe of being able to see and show, which everything is doing.
That's gonna be hard to get into a punchline.
Yeah. No, that's why I haven't even attempted
Tough
that part. No, yeah.
Great premise, but fuck, that is hardcore.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. That's actually easier. What me and Izzy have found, because Izzy's kind of on the same lines, but he loves jokes more than me. He's better. He's a better comic, and he's in a better position than I am. The part of explaining this that I've had was I'm like busting to talk about this all the time. Like I find it tough not to talk about this, like, to other people all the time. Like, it's always on, and so. But what I've found is people are always interested in that part. What I just explained to you now, when I try to explain stuff like that, or when I try to explain the wonder part, or the karma part, the way that time works, or things like that, people are very interested. It's like a physics documentary, or it's people are interested in the magic and the wonder part. The part that they get mad at is when it's like, what that also means, what I just said, is the experience of suffering or the experience of death, they're all not real. And so the fact that 90% of people take their actions to avoid death or to deal with it in some way, it's a bit jarring for me to just be like, suffering's in your head. It's like the total opposite of that mental health thing that it's pushing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of like anxiety, or where that it's coming from. It's all coming from you. And it's a hard. People get disturbed by that. Like,
I'm trying to follow you, but at the same time, it's difficult to say that suffering's not real when it's all in your mind, right? You produce the suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying? But it's hard not to, because, I went to a funeral today, and, that funeral presented itself in my mental state, and that made me suffer. So
the part that's the
how
part
can
that,
I detach from that? If I detach from that, I'm not human. Like,
the part exactly the part that people struggle with is the suffering's there for a reason. There's a reason for suffering. This is the thing that I like. Whenever people get mad at something about the world, like, there should be no hunger.
I'm just letting you know I'm no good at philosophy. It does my head in.
I'm
no good at it, so keep going.
It's alright. It's alright.
Yeah, my brain smokes.
It's all good, bro. But like, when people will say like, this is bad or this is wrong, they don't take into account that if it's there for some reason. If you don't know the reason, then you probably that's the reason why it looks wrong. It's not wrong because just because of your perspective of surviving than death or suffering or this or that, right? But anyway, what you were saying before, the tough part about it is because the suffering's not there for no reason. It has something to do with what's happening out here. It's not like I'm doing it to myself and there's nothing to do with it out here. There is stimuli out here that warrants suffering or warrants pain. There's a reason pain exists. It's to help you survive.
Of
It's
course,
like,
yeah.
oh, you broke your leg, cunt. Like, if you couldn't feel it, you would just keep walking around and your leg would be fucked. But the extent to which you suffer it is in your control. You can minimize it down to the pain signal. That's what it is. Or you can extend it to what it's taking away from you, your ability to walk. Or you can extend it to not being able to do some activity that you like doing. Or you can extend it to the degrees of loss you can extend or minimize at your. It's down to your perspective.
So I could be shifting gears here, but do you believe that there are actual people that can block pain and you could stab them and they just choose not to feel that pain?
Well, yeah, I mean, different people can bear pain. Like, even like athletes, if you got adrenaline going, if you can get your adrenaline going by yourself, like, there's a lot of ways to do it. And then there's people who just literally train to feel pain all the time and get used to pain. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. I don't think that's that hard to believe. It's not. It's not like mystical. I don't think everything's learned, everything's trained, everything's like there's a lot. There's a big boundary of what's possible. I think, but everything that's. I mean, I don't think there are special people. I think people lives are really guided just by what they want. That's really it. You're gonna get what you want. You just gotta ask. You gotta be how happy or sad you're gonna be is how honest you are with yourself with what you want. Like, if you think you want this and you keep acting to actually get this and you're not going to get okay, let me put it this way.
I think I agree with what you said before about you will get what you want in life if you work for it, because I do believe that there's a reason road rage exists, because at one point in time on this planet there was only 20,000 of us. So we are the generation of after me, not after you. It's fuck you. We have this drive to go and get what we want out there and be selfish.
That's what works though. That's the system.
That's survival.
It's always been that way.
Yes.
There's been no generation that's been after you. It's always been after me, because that's what works. Because if I get through, it's because it's bigger. We keep thinking about things as individuals, right? If you look at really the span of time, we're like a bacterial blob that's moving and keeps losing cells. It keeps losing me, losing you, and new ones come in, and it grows bigger and grows smaller, and that's really what we are. And these countries and names and things that we put on, they're very small windows of time that we're just taking a photo of and being like, that's India. It's been India since 1947. Before that, it was something else.
Yeah,
After
that's right,
it's going to be something else, right?
Yeah.
So, like it's that flow, that's really the driving mechanism of survival that we're all operating under. Our individual survival is really only just to maintain that one. So each one of us that succeed and have kids in a way that they can have kids, and they're the ones that are going to last. And they're the ones that can last, so they're the ones that should last. That's the way the nature works. You know what I mean? So it's like, and throughout all this, like, if you think of any negative connotation, it's all got to do with death. Oh, it's sad that people have to die, but like, it's such a natural part of the. There's not a thing in the world, a life form, I mean, that doesn't have to kill what it eats. There's nothing we eat that we don't have to kill first, other than milk and eggs. And milk comes from an animal, and eggs could be an animal that we're eating, right? Those are the only two, and everything else was living, and we have to kill it. And we've paid that price in advance. I've already paid to do this, but I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die too. So I've already suffered my consequence in advance. I'm killing millions of things as I live and just chewing on. And I'm going to be one of the million things too. Like,
so you're going to give back. Your atoms are going to give back.
I'm giving back everything I have.
The cycle's going to continue.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a, you know, it's a. I don't know. I can't remember what the initial question was now.
Either can I.
But
But it's a
yeah,
zen place to be.
yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah,
I've often thought that, especially with talking about the universe before. One thing I learned about the universe studying from an armchair perspective is that we are very, very, very irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I think we are. From way back when they put the Earth at the center of the universe, where it was demoted that the sun was the center,
mm-hmm.
and then we were the center of the galaxy, and then we found out we weren't the center of the galaxy. We were on the outer suburbs of the galaxy, and then we found out we're part of millions of other galaxies. And then there's this superstructure called the universe, and now they're saying that there's multiverses where
Yeah.
there's billions and billions of universes all exploding and coming into being right now as we speak, dying, being born. There's this enormous irrelevance. Like, it just makes me sink into my couch. But then at the same time, I spring out and I'm like, oh, well, fuck it then. I'm irrelevant. We're all irrelevant. It's just a shit show. And then it's like I'm reminded of Bill Hicks. Just go out there and have fun. It's just a ride, man. It doesn't really matter. I was at a funeral today. The guy had 4 kids and he followed his dreams. And he started his own business and he saw it through to the end. And I'm watching him in his coffin and I'm like, I think he's had a good run.
Yeah.
He had 4 kids and he followed his dreams. What more can you want? And he had the same wife for over 40 years. He found love, he pursued his passion, and he bore some offspring. That's that's killer.
Yeah.
The rest is gravy.
Well, that's the reason why I say.
So don't overthink it, right?
The reason why I say see and show is because there's no failing at that. So that has to be the purpose, right? Like if I sit, I'm sitting in a chair right now. I can call this a chair because it holds me, it holds my ass. If it can't hold my ass anymore, it's not a chair anymore. It's a broken chair, but it's not. I can't call it a chair unless it functions as a chair. So the only function that everything does, and that's what that guy did. He saw and he showed. Like he showed all his family and he showed himself and all his various states all through his life, and he saw everything of life that he saw, and you cannot fail at that. There's no hierarchy to it. So when you say relevant or irrelevant, if everything's on a spectrum, everything's job is to hold its place in the spectrum. If colors are on a spectrum, lights on a spectrum, sounds on a spectrum, electromagnetic wave. So everything's on a spectrum. That means we're all on a spectrum of seeing and all on a spectrum of showing, and we need to hold that relative to the next thing. So there's always going to be a smallest creature on the earth. Something has to be that, because there's got to be, you know what I mean? There has to be that end of the spectrum, and then smaller than that. And then there's got to be the biggest creature on the earth, and then they've got to hold all the middle parts, and there's got to be the animal that can see, can hear really well, and then got to be the animal that can see really well. Then there's got to be the animal that can think in ideas. We got that version, like how bats and dolphins, or not dolphins, but bats have that sonar shit of sight. We have the idea version of seeing. That's a form of seeing too, right? Seeing things in form of like like you can see things to different degrees, right? Like I can, the first time I saw your podcast was when I heard about it from Izzy. Izzy was like, "Oh yeah, John's got this podcast," and he described it. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's got this table and this thing set up in his podcast." That's the first time I saw it. I saw it in my head, from what he was describing. Second time, I saw it on YouTube.
Phases of. Well, not phases, there's elements of seeing.
Yeah, because now I'm watching it on YouTube, I'm seeing more than what I saw when Izzy described it.
Yeah.
I saw a little bit there, but now I'm seeing much more because I'm actually able to see it and hear it. Now I'm sitting in here, in it. I'm in it now. I'm in the thing that I was watching on the. Hey, Dhruv, I'm talking to me right now, watching this after. Like, do you get what I mean?
I do.
So now I'm seeing it to an even fuller extent. Like, so that sight spectrum has to be held because as soon as one exists, the other has to. Is that duality principle? So, that's what we hold. So we're irrelevant to that extent. We're holding our place in the spectrum so the next guy can be the next guy and the previous guy can be the previous guy. I have to be this guy. Yeah. In the middle. Do you get what I mean?
I absolutely do. Which makes me want to ask: did you study philosophy at school, or did you just read philosophy, or? Is it just mushrooms and reading? Yeah. Because I think mushrooms and reading generally would...
I used to be super religious when I was a kid. And then right before this experience happened to me, about 2-3 years before that, I left religion. I was real mad at God, and I like left religion, and I was like, yeah, I was in a wishy-washy place where I took away the purpose of life from myself.
So when you were balls deep in religion, did you actually believe the stories of an afterlife and
No, see,
all
this
that
is
sort of jazz? Or?
this is the big advantage I had, which was I'm Indian. So Hinduism is a weird
Do you have
religion.
an afterlife? Or can you explain Hinduism for dummies? Can you break it? Can you give me a shortened version?
It's very hard because
Is that?
I can, but it's and I will, but it's very first thing you got to know, it's very fragmented. It's much more like the polytheistic pagan cultures pre the Abrahamic faiths. It's
Okay.
not like the Abrahamic faiths at all. So that means there's not one right way. My village does it this way. Your village does it completely other way. We both accept each other's shit.
And that's branches of Hinduism.
That's all Hinduism. It's all Hinduism isn't really a thing, right? They just called what we were doing Hinduism. We don't even call it a thing. We just worship God.
But who is that deity god?
There's hundreds. There's more gods
Right.
than people.
Wow.
There's thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Is
infinity.
it like ancient Rome and Greece, like a god of war, god of
You
love?
can make your own. To that point, like you can create your own. But you can latch onto any character from any story, any old story, and make that person and worship that. So it's a point of it's a very because the first thing is we don't have a book or a collection of. We have some works that are very old, like some of the oldest written books. We have the Mahabharata, which is a poem, long epic poem, kind of like the Iliad by Homer.
Yeah.
Like a big war. Then there's the Ramayana, which is like the Odyssey, like a king returning home after 14 years exile, and that's another poem. And then we have the Vedas, the Vedantas, and the Puranas.
Are there common themes that are similar to Islam's message and Christianity's message of peace, love?
There's common themes amongst all of it because they're all trying to say the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. They're trying to say this thing that I saw. We're all one.
When were these books written? Are you talking like 1000 BC?
For 3 or 4,000 BC.
Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like ancient Egypt, way back then.
Like earliest.
Whoa.
Some of the earliest written text.
And some of those texts still exist.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
they're all. I mean, they've been rehashed, and it's just a very popular cornerstone of our. So those texts, they get interpreted by different areas, and that's what becomes their culture. So it all.
And that gets the interpretation of those books, which are stories about war, returning home from war.
Those two stories. There are two stories in their
And
own.
those
They're one
themes-
story each. They're just.
Okay, one story each, and they have similar themes, which are like peace, love, the same message of Christianity and Islam. And from that, you derive Hinduism. You take what you want and create a god.
There's a lot of interpretation as to what those two books are trying to do. But my interpretation, I used to read them a lot when I was a kid, and this is my interpretation: is the Mahabharata, which is the book that's set a little bit later, and it's about the war. That's a book that's supposed to get you to enlightenment, or be describing the nature of the universe. It's the see and show book. That book is showing you that it's see and show.
And what does it say?
It's just a story. It's a story.
just-
It's a lot like the Iliad.
Okay.
It's the Iliad is the entire Greek world meeting in one war, right?
Yeah.
Troy and Greece on
Yeah.
either side. The Mahabharata is the Kurukshetra war, so it's a kingdom divided into, and every king in India lines up on one side or the other, and they go at it. And it's a leading up to that, and
Fucking
that
Game
war.
of Thrones, man.
Yeah, it is basically. So, or Dostoevsky's that War and Peace book or whatever.
Tolstoy.
Yeah. Oh, Tolstoy. Sorry. So the Ramayana, which is the other book, that one is about how to live a productive life, like how to be a good man. Is more like a directive of. So one is about how do I leave this game of ego that I have to play, this suffering, happiness, joy game. How do I leave? Because the solution is not happiness. The solution is leaving happiness and suffering, and being able to have neither of them touch you. That's the solution.
But
Because
isn't that happiness, enlightenment?
it's not happiness.
Okay.
Because happiness is.
I see.
It's a
All right, I don't want to take you off track.
yeah.
So yeah, go on. So
Yeah, so the Ramayana is just how to be a good, like a productive, like a good leader. Because
okay, so if you read that book,
success has nothing to do with peace or contentment
okay,
or
let me
happiness.
ask you a quick question. So let's say I had that book and I read it and I believed everything that was on it and I loved it. Would that make me a Hindu? Is that how that happens?
No, we're like Jews. You can't really be a Hindu.
Because I'm trying to like, okay,
You got to be.
you have to be Indian.
You kind of have to be like, because all our traditions are so like.
Okay, so
If you do one of our ceremonies as a Hindu, like you need to know who your ancestors were and what place they're from for me to say the thing. So in order as a practicing what you're calling a Hindu and what you're calling as you can subscribe to the ideals though. That's why there's so many people like the Hare Krishnas and so many people can subscribe to that. We don't go for it because that's part of our thing is interpret it how you will and you go for it. Like we don't have a right way of doing it. There's no right way.
all right, so it's such a wonderful message. What made you abandon it, and what made you angry with it, and
It's
walk
not
away
wonderful.
from it?
It's not wonderful.
No?
It's got its own serious flaws. So just like the Abrahamic faiths have their flaws, they're both saying the same message. The Abrahamic ones are being way more direct about it. They're like, you need to do this in order to see this and to get this message and to live it. You need to. They're putting the force down
That's the Old
and
Testament.
the discipline in. Yes, all three. All three of the
well, the
Abrahamic.
Kim James Bible is watered down and like fluffier.
It's still
But Old Testament is like hard. That's what the Greeks and the Russians prescribed to.
it's still like explicit commandments.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that. We are wishy-washy. There's no right way to. Like Krishna, he's a mass murderer in the book, in the story. Kills heaps of people. Does heaps of outright dishonorable stuff. This dude's God on earth. Literally God incarnated on earth to rid the world of evil. And he's doing evil all over the place. So our book, because it's describing, our books are not telling you how to live, especially the Mahabharata. It's describing the universe and all the horrific majesty of it. Every part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the good and the bad. That's what it is as a whole. It's not, one side is not better than the other. Or one side's not meant to win. If one side goes, the other side can't exist. One side's there because the other side's there.
I understand, yeah.
So
You have no reference point.
So it's some completely wishy-washy. This is the flaw with Hinduism. Completely. That's why Buddha started his thing because he was like, no man can understand Hinduism in one lifetime. So I'm gonna put my own stuff out there. That's why Buddha was a Hindu. He was a Hindu.
Right.
He was a.
So Buddha came after Hinduism and said, "This is wishy-washy, messy."
I'm clearing it up. I'm clearing it up for you guys.
And how did he clear it up?
Meditate. You have to fall in love with the trance, being able to take yourself away from thinking, so that you can notice the separation, and then you can get to the. He was cutting to the core of it. Do you get what I mean? Rather than the Mahabharata and the thing, and the Ramayana and all our scriptures, they're so broad and explaining everything that it's easy to get lost. And okay, what do I do though? You're giving me this massive story. It's epic. It's beautiful. Epic story. What do I do? Who am I in this? 100 million characters. What do I do? Right? Buddha was just like, this is what you do. You sit down and you meditate and you try and detach yourself and start noticing your feelings within you and become self-aware, basically. Try and figure out. And then you eventually get to a place where who you think you are will separate from who you really are. Then you'll be able to notice what's going on here. That's what these guys are trying to say. That's what the Abrahamic religions are trying to do too. The Abrahamic religions just take a lot of responsibility off your shoulders to do the work yourself. They're like, you don't need to do the work, just do what we tell you. It's outdated too, obviously, written a long time ago. And it needs to be a little bit updated. But that's all they're trying to say. They're all trying to get you to notice yourself, which is that one that I'm talking about, that other world, that one, that's got to be you. That's the real you. That's me. That's you. That's this table. That's everything. It has to be that. It has to all break down to that. And then break back out, like, to what it is now, in order to be able to exist and hold that spectrum that has to exist out of nothing. You know what I mean? So, not out of nothing, out of everything. But, yeah. So, yeah. But your question was, so what made me lose it? I was mad because, man, I believe I was into Hinduism just the same way anyone's into their religion. So I thought God was looking out for me. I thought God was Like if I pray to him, he'll give me what I want. If I ask him for what I want,
But didn't you say Hindu god was many gods?
yeah. So
So
mine was
who are you?
Hanuman.
Okay, did
That's
you choose that?
yeah. He was my favorite.
And what made him your favorite?
Yeah, just I loved his stories. He was the man. He was a gangster. He used to like fight lots
What
of
can
stuff.
you describe him as? As a like a Superman?
He's a monkey.
Like a Batman.
He's a monkey dude.
Yeah.
He's the son of the wind god and the queen of the monkeys. So
So he's a monkey, or does he?
he's
take
half monkey, half man. He's like a man with a monkey face.
It's like fucking Planet of the Apes.
But he's jacked. Like he's got like a pretty
He's
human body.
jacked.
He's got like a human body though. He's like
Alright.
super strong, jacked.
Yeah.
He can increase his size at will, and he can increase the length of his tail at will. He can leap vast distance. He's like a superhero, dude. That's why I loved him. But
Holy fuck! It's almost like in 20,000 years they're gonna come across fractured DVDs of Marvel superheroes and piece it together and go, "These are gods. We're gonna worship
it could
them."
happen. It definitely could happen.
Because maybe these were stories of fiction back
Dude,
then.
it's so realistic. If we somehow lost the technology and then got it back
Yeah,
to a point where we couldn't make that shit yet though,
yeah.
and we saw like you saw like Avengers Endgame, you're like, dude, this extinction event happened. Who's this Thanos dude?
Yeah, what
is
the
he coming back? Like, we need to prepare.
So what made you abandon
Uh,
him? What's the god's name? Sorry,
Hanuman.
Hanuman. What made you abandon Hanuman?
Well, it was not just him. I mean, I didn't only believe that he's the main thing. He was I was a devotee to him specifically because he was the qualities that I wanted to embody. I wanted to be strength. He was a talker too. He was like he could convince. He always told the truth, but he could convince you of anything without lying. That was what I liked.
Yeah, sure.
And
There's no deception.
no deception, but he'll speak directly to your heart, and he can get you to be with his cause. So like, and he's just strong and loyal, and so I wanted all these qualities, so that's why I picked him. But I still accept the entire catalog of gods along with him. In order for him to be real, they all got to be. So it's not just him I was casting aside. I was also casting aside Krishna and Vishnu and all the big ones, the big heavy hitters, the big three, and all that. So yeah, because I thought they'd let me down. I thought if I was praying to them, they'd give me what I wanted, and they'd give me success, and they'd give me glory, and they'd give me all these things that I wanted out of stand-up, and to be a stand-up, to give me my identity and all this.
But now you know it has to come from within you and not a deity. Like you have to want that. Like you have to make that happen now. You can't seek that strength from an external source.
No. I knew that before too. I wasn't just praying and being like, I'm just gonna get this. It's like if I do everything right, shit should break my way. Like it should be, and it was just normal stuff that was going wrong. I was just a young comic struggling, just like any normal comic struggles. But I go, this is meant to be happening. Quick, I had a big ego about me too. I still do. I have a massive ego about me. So I'm like. So, you have expectations. When you have a big ego, you have expectations. When you have expectations, you end up miserable because you're never going to live up to them. And as soon as you meet one, you've got another one right there waiting.
How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm going to be 29 in like a week.
Okay, your ego mellows out. It wanes. It's like testosterone. As you get older, your ego fucks off and you're left with true purpose. It's easier to not be clouded because I think my ego compared to now at 45 compared to 29 was way different.
Yeah.
Now I'm more mellow. I can be chilled.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that's definitely part of it as well. But yeah, no, for me, yeah. So what made me? And I was just depressed. I was just crushing myself under the weight of expectations.
Yeah.
So I was just depressed, and that's when I left. And that's around the time when I met Izzy, and we started really going, because he just left his religion as well, and we started really going deep into talking about what we thought the meaning of life was, and there was a few figures that we were clinging onto. We were listening to a lot of Alan Watts or Eckhart Tolle, or there was a few Sadhguru. There was a few people in India that we were clinging onto, and there's a few people that we felt were talking about something similar, even though they were from different backgrounds and different walks.
Don't you have to, when you ask the question, what is the meaning of life, don't you have to be careful of that question because it hasn't been specifically defined? Don't you have to give more details when you ask? You can't just throw that question out. Sometimes you can have a shit question. For example, if you're on the North Pole with Santa Claus and you ask Santa where's north, Santa's gonna go, there is no more north. You can't go more north. Your question is stupid.
Right.
You are north. Anywhere Santa points is south.
Right.
So the question is stupid. So when you ask what is the meaning of life, if you bracket it in terms of biology, it's something like survival and procreation. If you bracket in terms of the pursuit, do you know what I mean? You've got to you got to give it more parameters.
Yeah. So, first of all, like it's when I say the meaning of life, it was questions in that it was questions in that neighborhood, and ultimately it leads you down to a question of the what is the meaning of life question is really who am I in disguise? Who am I is the question that you're trying to answer.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
And that's what that question is boiling down to. What is the meaning of life? And the actual question that I asked on the day that I got the answer, or what I feel was the answer, and I got what I was looking for, was what is want? Because what actually happened was I was real depressed. I was holding 4 tabs of acid for John Doe. And I was just like, I'm not doing. And I was just at a point in my life where I was like, bro, I don't know what I want anymore. Like, I really don't know what I want to do. And John was like, yo, bro, just take that acid and you can replace.
Good on you, John.
Yeah, and like you figure it out, meditate on it. And so I literally took a piece of paper out and I tried to meditate on it. And I just started thinking, what do I want? And then I was like, what is want? What is want? What is that? What is that thing that keeps coming up at me all the time? Like this and that, for every little thing, not even the big things, like the little things constantly, right? Then I'm like, then that took me to who is wanting? Like, who is that dude? Because it's not me, because he's asking me.
So it's your
So
ego.
it's obviously not me wanting. It's this dude who's keeping on asking me for shit.
Yeah.
And then I realized that's not me, that dude. And then I noticed the real me, and the answer came to me. That's when the answer came to me. So, yeah, and yeah, that was the question that led me to. But what I was saying before, the meaning of life, how I was able to reach it without context. Okay, so survival is not the meaning of life. Survival is the vehicle.
If you ask me, like, what's the meaning of life to a biologist,
yes.
in that context,
yeah.
I would say, well, survival or, procreation. And
yeah. To me, the way the reason why I say what I say is because if I can keep putting a Y to it, then that's not the end. I can't put any more Y's to see and show. Why to see and show? Because you can't, as everything, you can't see and show. Full stop. There's no more Y after that. For me. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the survival thing is why, though? Why the survival game? Why have we put in this rat race where I have to stake my life every day to eat and kill someone else? Why do I got to do that? To see and show. It's cars. The purpose of a car is to go from point A to point B, right? The way it does that is an engine, which is the survival game. The survival game to the universe. If the universe is a car, the survival game is the engine, and the purpose is to see and show. The car's purpose is not to have an engine. The purpose of the car is to get from A to B. The engine is what's allowing the car to do that. So the survival game is what is allowing us to see and show, because it keeps us going. That's the could you design a better system to have something living on itself to keep itself going? This is how you do it. This is the only way to do it. I kill you. I have a kid. I eat you. And then I die, and you eat me. You have a kid. We keep going.
Yeah. Do you think the way the universe works here on this planet, you know how like species eat species?
Yeah.
And seeing as scientists have looked at every corner of the universe and found the same elements exist and the same spectroscopy, stars are made up of the same stuff at the other end of the observable universe. Do you think it's logical then that you can make a leap and say that if there are planets 13 billion years away, light years away, and they have grounds for life, then that life could be similar to ours, like dog eat dog, to survive? because the elements of life are there, the same as here. It's like just crossing the street and looking at a pantry.
Yes.
You see the same atoms,
Yes.
the same ingredients in that pantry as you have.
Yeah. The only way logically speaking, the only way it wouldn't be able to work, it wouldn't work like that, is if whatever's creating the energy that powers this thing is limitless, and then I don't have to worry about killing anything, right? The reason we have to kill things is because it's holding energy for a minute. We're all energy receptacles, and I need to eat another energy receptacle because you can't just hold energy. Can't just be here like this. So I need to eat something that's got energy in it, so I have energy then, right? So that's the reason why that, and the reason why the killing and stuff, like the whole war thing, it's like the rules of the game are whatever I can do to make it work. That's what I can do to make it work. So the killing aspect of it.
That's evolution in a nutshell, what you've just described.
You know what I mean? So that's
just the fucking way it is, man.
It's too hard. It's too...
Yeah. That's stand-up as well, in a nutshell. Like, whatever I can do to try to make it work, I will do.
Wherever there's a space to, someone will fill it. So it's not like you can't get rid of the shock jock. The white belts are getting up and talking about rape, and they shouldn't. Yeah. You can't get rid of them because they're going to occupy that space. Someone's going to occupy
Someone's going to do it.
Has to do it because that has to exist. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you believe in free speech on stage? Like, nothing should... I believe nothing should be censored. I believe that you should say whatever you want, even if it's horrific stuff. But I think you'll be found out by an audience that just won't laugh, and then the promoter will go, "You got no laughs. Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, that's it. That's
the nature.
There's only one rule in stand-up. That's why I pick stand-up.
Yeah,
only one rule is be funny.
That's why I love stand-up so much, because I can talk for 30 seconds. I know if I hear a laugh, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
But if I sit down and go, I'm going to write a novel, I can get lost so fast.
Even if it's not funny sometimes, as long as you're keeping it interesting. See,
well, that's right.
The rule is, really what we're doing is, we're putting stand-up in a box and saying it's stand-up. Really, the family we're a part of is the same as the Olympics, is the same as a circus, is the same as a movie. It's anyone in the business of getting people to do this. Like, turn and pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And being worth turning and paying attention to. Enough that it's like, enough people are doing it that I'm paying money to pay attention to that thing.
Yeah.
So, funny is really the rule to make it comedy, but really, as long as you're up there, that's why Hannah Gatsby, I have no problem. Like, whatever you're doing to get people to turn and pay attention and look over there, and not be like, fuck, you made me look for that bullshit. If they're going, oh yeah, you made me look and I'm happy I looked, more power to you. That's you winning the game. That's the game.
I couldn't agree more.
That's the game.
How long have you been gigging now? I forgot to ask you.
Are
you 6 years at least?
Oh, I have no idea. Talent wise.
No, just stand up. Not poetry at 5.
No.
Fuck's sake.
My first gig I did when I was 18, 17. So I was,
oh wow.
Yeah, when I was 20. When I saw it in 2010. But I did it in such small towns. And so many, like, I've had breaks in between as well. I wasn't going whole hog with stand-up until, like, 2015, 2016. Even when I was going whole hog with stand-up, I wasn't going whole hog with stand-up. So
what's whole hog for you? Like, a couple of gigs a week, 3 gigs a week, 4 gigs a week? How do you...
I don't go whole hog. That's what whole hog is to me. Whole hog is doing it properly. Like, how normal, proper people do it. Like, I don't do it.
Do you think there's a limit in Melbourne? Like, not a minimum to gig? Like, sometimes I think the minimum should be 3 a week.
Yeah, I mean to get good.
Just a gig, yeah. To run through ideas.
I think as many as you can do.
Oh, absolutely. But when you can't, because we're all human and we've got other shit going on in our lives.
Yeah.
I try like 3 and...
I mean, you're going to progress at the rate that you do the gig. And then there's also a point where...
There's also quality over quantity.
Yes.
Because I was in London for a stage and I tried an experiment where I gigged every day for 6 months. And I learnt less from when I gigged quality gigs for 6 months. I learnt more with the quality gigs because I had a proper audience.
Right.
As opposed to comics just staring at me.
Well, it's going to teach you different things. I mean, comics staring at you is never good. You're not going to learn anything from that. Really.
You don't. It's tough. I don't know what to do when I... Like, this could be a question for everyone. Like, what do you do when you're in a room and you're about to go up on stage and it's just comics I think you should just go off on a stream of consciousness or a topic that you've been thinking of talking about, but you haven't had the balls to. Because if you start doing material, comics are going to laugh at the wrong places.
Yeah.
They're going to laugh when you choke. They're
Yeah.
going to laugh at your shitness.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I did.
And if it's funny, they're not going to laugh. They're just going to stay silent and probably just say cunt under their breath.
Exactly. One of the. I mean, if they're good enough to pay attention to you, which I have been in some rooms like that where the comics are actually trying to pay attention, and if you've got some new stuff they haven't heard,
That's great.
That's all right.
That's good.
But I have had that. Like I remember doing that Ligon room, and there was all comics in there one time.
Yeah, that's normally a great. Is that the Semple and Vosk?
Yeah,
that's a great gig.
It is normally, but it was a full room. It was like 20 people in there, but they were all comics. Literally, like there was like one punter in there.
That's when you have to shift and go. I've got to.
I literally told them that story of that story where I took 4 and there were no jokes in it. I was just like, I'm just gonna get this off my chest, like how I wanna. This is what's on my mind, and I'm just gonna get it off like that. And I got something out of it, but I did it one more time after that, but I'm not gonna do that again. But yeah, it's I mean, what you're talking about with Alessio and the other podcasts is 100% true. You got to get as many. If you want to get good at something, you just got to expose yourself to as many situations as you can with that, and figure out a way to react. And then the other side is writing and figure out who you are. Are you someone that has something to say? You don't have to be. If you are someone that has something to say, or if you want to be someone that has something to say, make sure you have something to say, and like write. And that's the other side of it. So performing and the writing. Performing you don't get better at unless you perform, and writing you don't get better at unless you write. That's the way to do it.
It's that simple. It's fucking Darwinian. You've got to expose yourself to all these
Environments.
environments.
It's simple, man.
To adapt.
It's not a secret.
It's not. It's not hard.
That's what I mean.
Well, it is. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Stand up.
Yeah.
And there are days where I wish I was a pilot, or you know what I mean? Because physics isn't going to change. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow with a new set of physics laws, and I'm like, oh fuck, I've got to learn to fly again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to still know how to fly. Whereas my material, gold on a Friday night in front of 200, and the next night in front of 40 at a cricket club.
Yeah.
They're not buying
when
it.
You're a pilot.
Fuck.
When you're a pilot, 90% of your days are good days, and good days are piss easy. But that 10% are bad days.
Well, potential air crash investigation.
Yeah. Those are avoidable. But
did you have any B career topic, like B options in your life? Like, I pretty much found stand up at 25.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I went to law school, I wanted to make my parents proud. I'm Indian.
Did you study law?
Yeah, I did for 3 years.
So
I dropped out.
So okay, yep, 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
your poor parents. Your parents must be like my parents. I think Indian parents and Greek parents are very similar.
A little bit.
Very discriminatory, very racist. Very like, what the fuck, what are you doing? Don't bring a Pakistani girl home. Don't bring a Turkish girl home. Go to fucking uni. I worked hard for you to get an education.
Yes. Well, same stuff.
Same mold.
Oh yeah. That you gotta love that whole region. I mean, it's a big. We're not really in the same region, but I don't know. There's a weird that eastern everything east of the Mediterranean Sea. Or like no, even further, because some of the what's on the other side? What's on the west of the Italians are kind of like that too, a little bit. But,
and Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish a little bit too. You're
and
right.
Maltese.
You're right. Yeah, I think everyone's like that a little bit. White people are really a little bit weird. White people, I don't know what they've done to themselves, but
Well, there's this Anglo-Saxon.
They've really mind-fucked themselves.
There's this Anglo-Saxon There's this Anglo-Saxon culture that I was exposed to for 10 years in England, where it's okay to detach from your emotional state of being.
Right.
You you're always well-mannered, you're always polite.
Yeah, that fucked
and you
them
don't
up.
show you, whereas wogs, we just fucking explode. We
Indians,
have to.
We're emotional as fuck.
But that's why we live longer, man.
Yeah.
They just fucking let shit, they deal with shit later, they don't process, and their fucking heart, their valves just explode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, man.
But the blacks in London, they're very much like wogs.
Oh, yeah. Well, black people are, too. Black people are in that category.
Very cultured, very out there, very emotional, very loving.
Very much so. Black people aren't... The difference between black people, though, black people are very emotional, and they are, but they're very chill. Like, they're not serious. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They're chill and emotional.
Yeah.
Indians, we're
No.
like the, we're like
You guys are nuts.
we're like serious and emotional. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
like Japanese are like the opposite. Japanese are not emotional at all,
If you guys
and they're
took
serious.
if you guys took over the world, we're all fucked because you guys
We
have
never
your
will.
own. You guys have your own caste system,
We never will.
and you discriminate amongst yourselves. Like you can't bring a certain Indian girl home if she's from the wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's like fucking ancient, but it still exists. In
Oh
your,
yeah. Oh yeah. I do. I can't remember the exact story, but did you hear about that? There was some Indian family that's like Indians keep getting busted with like slaves, like in Australia. Like they've got like some Indian chick
yeah, I saw
that
that.
they've just come and brought.
I saw this. They kept this poor Indian
Yeah.
mum.
Yeah, man, we're rough. Yeah, but you guys are wrong at the mad at the wrong people. Like I swear to God, everyone's mad at white people. White people are actually nice.
But
like
but there's the Indians are getting screwed over as well in Dubai. They're treated like shit.
yeah, everyone treats
building-
everyone like shit.
Is that yeah? Well,
that's the thing.
that's the game.
If you're from outside, man,
That's the game.
get the fuck out. Do you know
Yeah.
what my dad said to me? Like when I was young, bro.
But you got this emerging woke culture. That
They're
is-
even worse, to be honest. But when my dad, when I was a kid, because I went to boarding school or like even when I was just like doing PE and you had to get changed, and I was wearing like an Indian, like a sacred. It's like a thread thing that we wear, like as a Brahmin, and like
Are you Brahmin?
yeah, and I'm
Brahmin is the top caste.
Yeah, we're the white people.
And I've never met a.
We're the
What's the low caste?
oppressors.
Yeah, you're the oppressor. What's the lowest caste in India? The Dalits,
Shudras.
Shudras.
Yeah.
I've never met a Shudra.
Yeah, the
Not a-
untouchables.
Right.
Yeah, but it's.
Can you date a girl from a Shudra caste?
I can. My family are cool.
Your family won't care. But when you take her to India, they'll be like, ew.
I go 1 or 2 generations up and they'll care. Maybe one generation up and they'll probably care. Like my parents are like one generation, a little. They got TV like from when they were a little kid, so they're already broken a little bit from that. You know what I mean? From a lot of the old. Like I remember my dad hired an untouchable to redo our ancestral home in South India. And
Where
my
are you from
grandpa-
in South India?
Tamil Nadu. It's a small village called Singanallur in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
A very tiny. Like that house, like 300 years old, 400 years old.
You're joking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, I saw my
Like a well in the
grandfather's
back.
home,
Like,
and that was 130.
Yeah.
So you've topped me.
Yeah, it's an old house. So like,
Isn't that fucking amazing?
but-
Older than
Yeah, fucking old, man. Older than Napoleon. That house.
yeah. Is it still
It
standing?
was 100. Yeah, still standing.
Good builders. In 300 years, nothing will be standing in Mernda.
Yeah.
With the way they've fucking built them.
Yeah.
Metricon homes, they build them in like 20 minutes, and they go, all right, next job, done.
Yeah, but like in India's it's so my granddad moved from South India to Mumbai when my dad was a kid. Oh no, my dad was born in Mumbai, so when he got married or before he got married. So yeah, but India. What were we talking about before?
I can't remember, but I just started exploring India
Yeah.
because I've never been, but it fascinates
Oh no, the
me.
cultural thing. We're emotional and stuff. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But yeah,
Anglo-Saxons
we're
are
never
colder.
taking over anything, bro. We're not taking over shit. We're too lazy. India's never taken over anyone. Never even tried.
But you won't. You're pretty
We already got everything. We're too lazy.
Yeah, but
We got the spices.
China's
What do we
nudging
need to
you.
take?
China's nudging a bit. On
We're still not
on the
gonna-
side of India. What's going on over there?
Everyone's been nudging, bro. We just
What's
too
going?
lazy.
Do you know what's going on between China and India on
Yeah,
the
I know,
border?
on the
What
border.
is that?
It's a weird
Do
little
you give a
standoff
fuck
thing.
about? Who gives a fuck about that land there?
I mean,
Isn't it? Is it sacred or is it just more for pride? What's happening?
I don't think it's pride. I think China's trying to make moves. China's the number one contender, and they're going right now. They're like
they're
it's their time. They're doing.
COVID was a
do you know-
stun grenade
do
to
you
the
know what this
world,
is?
and now they're making chess moves.
Do you remember when McGregor first came out and he was just shit talking Aldo at every possible fight,
Yeah.
trying to get the fight still?
Yeah.
That's what China's doing. China
Absolutely.
is McGregor,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to get this fight. They're trying to get the title holder, and the title's ducking him.
Yeah.
USA's like, oh yeah, no, we'll fight whoever comes. It's like, what about China? It's like, no, but he said, well, I have an injury coming up, and I think our schedules don't match like quite right. You know what I mean? Like, it's that vibe right now. Like they got the whole, like even
Can you crystal ball a war? How would you crystal ball
it's weird
a
right now.
sequence of events
It's weird right now.
that
It's
leads
unpredictable.
to conflict. If I was to crystal ball a sequence of events that would lead to confrontation, I would do something like
I'll tell you this right now.
South China Sea.
If we end up having a war soon, and China loses, COVID was part of the war. Guarantee you, that's part of the narrative. China started their attack in 2019 when they released COVID.
Well, that was a stun grenade.
If they do a war and China lose, and we get to write what happened, we're including COVID.
It would start in COVID.
It would start in COVID.
Yeah, the war began.
Even if it starts 5 years from now.
Yeah, it was to cripple our economy in 2019, throw us all a fucking spanner in the works, and then bang, make moves. Yeah, absolutely.
If they win, though, then no, it's not.
If China win,
no, then it's not.
COVID started in America. They tried to blame us.
Yes.
And all we wanted to do was say hi to Taiwan.
Yeah.
And just go ask them out on a date.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they cried rape.
Yeah, and Hong Kong. I had Hong Kong on the side a little bit, but Taiwan. She's a hoe anyway. I don't. Yeah. That whole scenario is hilarious right now. It's such an interesting time to be alive with this pandemic, and
it is, man. It is. It's a bit. I think we're kind of almost going to be living through like a Cold War with Russia and America.
Yeah.
It's going to be tense over the next 20 years. Like, we just bought a whole heap of missiles, and China's like, why'd you buy those fucking missiles?
Yeah.
And they hate us, but at the same time, they need our iron ore. And they're buying up all of our iron ore because we've got the best iron ore in the world, and they're fucking going for it. They're buying heaps of it, man.
My dad's engineer, and his biggest pet peeve is how Australia just sell all that. They just extract natural resources and sell it,
but
rather than
tell your dad a little fucking 1 minute economics course, supply and demand, Dad. Look how much money we're fucking making.
Yeah, no, I know, but if we,
because they can't. China want to go to Brazil, but Brazil are like, yeah, we're not ready.
No, but if we built the infrastructure to use all the material ourselves and have the manufacturing here, then we could get off the tit of China. That's his point.
Okay, sorry.
To get off the tit of something else, to not require the buying power, right? It's a self-fulfilling thing as well. Like, if you start bringing the infrastructure here, you're going to start needing to bring people. And then when you start making the shit here, then more people are going to come.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it inherently involves raising the population of Australia, which I don't think Australians are amazingly keen on, but because it's pretty cool to not have people here. It's so great. Like, as an Indian, it's so great being here. There's no one here. It's so great to have no one here. It's such an advantage. People don't.
That's how we like it, Dhruv.
Everyone who's mad at.
That's how we like it, man.
Everyone who's mad at white people who hate immigrants should cut them some slack. That you don't realize.
We like big backyards.
You don't realize, man.
We cannot lie.
You don't realize, man. Like, I understand. I understand where they're coming from.
Well, it's one reason why I lived in England for 10 years. I came back because it was like fucking slots of land.
Yeah.
Small slivers rather of land. It was shit.
Yeah. That and their landmass is just tiny anyway. Like, they're just that UK is tiny.
Tiny with 60 million people.
I know. Yeah. Rough. There's 25 million people here, and it's ridiculous. Huge. No one here.
When did you leave? Oh, you left India as a baby.
No, when I was 5.
5.
That's why I couldn't speak English. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't remember anything?
5, 6. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You do.
Heaps. Yeah.
Heaps.
Yeah. I've gone back to India quite a lot as well. But yeah, I remember quite a bit from before.
Are you connected to India? Like, I'm connected to Greece spiritually. Like, I think Australia is my father, Greece is my mother. If that makes sense.
Not in that way. Not in that way. I'm not connected to anywhere. Like that. When I moved to New Zealand, it killed me over that. Because I was like, when I got there, I remember I went to my first year of school. I could barely speak English, and they took me to like an Easter parade, and I saw that. You know when they take you through the whole Jesus thing, and he like ends up on the cross at the end.
Yeah.
And they had actors playing it and everything. I was like, what is this? I'd never heard of any of this before.
Never heard of Jesus.
Nothing.
Wow.
Of it. Nothing. For me, I'm still in Hindu world. We have Diwali. We have Holi. Yeah. We don't have Christmas. Someone come up to me and they're like, "Yo, Santa Claus. What's Santa Claus gonna get you?" Who?
Who the
what?
Fuck? Yeah.
A fat white guy comes down a chimney. We don't even have chimneys. All right. Wait, what is this? He's missing out the entire continent of India. Fucking, are you on crack? Like, this is not real. So, yeah, that shattered the whole. So I basically had a choice at that point. I was like, all right, either these guys are bullshitting and we're right with our stuff, or we're bullshitting and these guys are right, or they're both bullshitting, which is, I think, the likelier. So then that's what kind of skewed me to read everything for myself. So like that's why I went back and I read a lot of, and I made up my own mind too. The biggest thing with me with religion, this is my pet peeve as well, with people who are like, religion is literal. You're supposed to take this all literally, like what they meant. This is what happened. These stories that they write is they're writing down as a historical record, right? It's like we're acting as if we came up with the ability to make stuff up recently.
Yeah.
Like 2,000 years ago, we couldn't write Harry Potter. Harry Potter magically only now we can come up with that magical shit. Why is it so hard to believe that these guys would have been coming up with this metaphorically and allegorically back then, and they already knew that that's the best way to convey a message that's not going to get misconstrued is through a story.
Yeah.
And I think it's highly likely that they would have known that back then. Isn't the people really underestimate how smart people were back then. I don't think we've gotten that much smarter. People were just as smart, if not smarter than we were back then.
Well, yeah, look at Pythagoras and
all those
pyramids.
Dudes. Exactly. These people were more than capable.
In China and the Aztecs.
They're more than capable of coming up with myths and legends.
Yeah.
So as vehicles to spread to do whatever they're trying to do.
Our technological leap probably happened in the 20s with quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And that birthed the computer age.
Yeah.
But pre-1920, physics was very similar to... I remember at the time when Einstein wanted to study physics, they said, don't do it, it's all done.
Yeah.
It's wrapped up, we're done here.
Yeah.
Physics is a dead end.
Yeah.
Gravity, Newtonian physics, it's done.
Science is boring. Even if you just look at works of art.
Science is not boring.
No,
it's taught boringly.
No. I didn't mean it that way. I mean, I think it's fascinating, but measuring what was correct back then and now, it's more interesting to look at literature because you can see how similar they thought to us.
Of course.
Like, if you read Dante's Divine Comedy, right? Like, what an amazing piece of satire. That dude is like Mark Twain or some shit. This dude wrote this shit in like 1300 or 1400 in Florence, Italy. It is one of the greatest pieces of comedy. It's great. Like, have you heard of Dante's Divine Comedy?
It's on my list, man. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah,
I got 7 days off.
Well, it's in Italian. I can't read it. I just read the fucking what the people who can speak English say about it. But like, it's a great like they explore really complex ideas. Like we act like they didn't know, and like slavery. For example, they had slaves, so they didn't know better. They had some lower concept of morality or lower concept of understanding the world than we do now, which I don't think was the case. First of all, we ain't here without slaves. There was no other way to get shit done, bro. I am not spending my time building the shit. I'm gonna imprison someone and make them build my shit for me. I'm sorry, like,
well,
it's the year 1000. I'm not. No, I have deals to make in Egypt, and I'm a merchant. I gotta go on my caravan. I need people.
Slavery still exists. It's just called minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as necessary today because we got machines, we got jackhammers, and we got fucking excavators, and you know what I mean. That but back in the day, people did what they had to do, man, and people are still gonna do what they have to do. I don't know where this judgment came. It's recent too. Of you got to be a good person somehow, and like everyone. There are people out there who know that they've been doing bad and they're deliberately doing bad, or like this Jeff Bezos. Dude, why is everyone so pissed at Jeff Bezos about going into space? I don't understand.
Maybe tall poppy syndrome. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Is it?
Maybe. Also, I've heard an argument that he should be giving money back to that would have fed a lot of kids in Africa.
Yeah, like that
shit.
That whole argument of we need to get rid of hunger, we need to end racism. What? How? Like, you can't end hate.
If you want to,
you can't end it.
You can't end hate. But if you want to end racism, you got to pass a rule that says you have to marry outside your culture and have a child outside your culture. Then it's okay to be racist because you
even then they're gonna be
kids,
racist.
Yeah.
Even then, there's
but
no
it's gonna be
way.
more acceptable.
We get along fine now. Even then,
I think so.
I think we get along fine the way we are. I don't think we needed any. But like,
I think we need more education because education breeds a certain type of. It's
already, bro. I grew up. I grew up in New Zealand, and then I come over here, especially in a place like Melbourne.
I'm just saying, black people. We know that black people is just like they've got melanin in their skin because of they've been exposed to. They're on a certain angle on the curvature of the Earth that's exposed to a lot of sun.
Mm-hmm.
So their bodies produce melanin to stop them from getting UV radiation.
Well, the secret
that's kind of beautiful in a weird way. Like their bodies are developed adapted to live next to the sun. Whereas other people in redneck America in 1830s were like, "Fuck them motherfuckers."
Yeah,
you know, like,
but it's not really about the skin color. We're using the skin color as a point of difference, but it's not really
but
about
that's how
that.
it begins.
I think it begins from...
It begins from you look so fucking different and alien.
Yes.
Get away from me.
I can dehumanize you.
You are interrupting my status quo.
Yes. But I mean, there was I can't remember which study, which biologist was talking about it. But there was like some study that there's a natural reflex that makes you do that, because back in the day, people from other tribes would carry pathogens that could kill your whole community. So it's like there's a natural survival element to it a little bit, but there's also culture clash. Like there's a lot of aspects to racism that people don't account for, that they're just like, you should just be able to go along with this. Like when I was saying before, like I wear that sacred thread thing, and when I'm in gym class, when I was taking it up, everyone would keep asking me about it. And I went home and I was complaining to my dad one day. I was like, man, these cunts are so racist, man. They keep like every time I open my food, if there's Indian food, they keep asking me about it, or if it's this, or if it's that. They just keep, why can't they just? And my dad's like, yeah, but you're Indian, bro. We're in their country. Like, you're weird. They're gonna ask you. Like, well, you gotta empathize. Like, you're asking to empathize with people, and you have no empathy from their standpoint.
There's nothing wrong with curiosity.
There's nothing wrong with curiosity, and there's gonna be difference as well. Like, like some of my friends, they came to my house every time. They were like, man, your house smells like curry. Like every time. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be hateful, but difference can always have the potential to create that. That difference is going to exist.
My mum's house always smells of garlic.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is, and it's just or like when I used to go to my friend's house, his mum would be like sunbathing topless on her balcony, and I'd be so uncomfortable. I'd be like, "What is? You can't."
Where's she from?
White. She's from New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But like,
that's big in that was big in Europe in the 90s. When I first traveled to Europe in the 90s, girls were getting their tits out at the beach. I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Right.
How good's this?
So this shock, it's just a shock.
You need a strong
some of it's just a.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I'll make a joke. You need like
a
lot of alcohol on Frankston Beach to get to that stage. You know, back when I was, and then you go to Greece and the tits out.
Yeah.
It's glamorous.
Yeah, Europe, they just have a different culture about it. It's not right or wrong. There's no right or wrong.
One thing I wanted to mention before, how weird is it that a society defines what is normal? You take a time machine back to ancient Greece. There were ancient Greek statues of gods in parks with erect penises, and girls at 13 used to go and lose their virginity on it, and then everyone used to break out into a fete, like a parade.
Wow.
And sing and dance that she just broke her hymen on a god.
Right.
Ancient Greeks used to have this once a year massive orgy with masks on. And then the children used to be raised by the entire village. That way, there was no prejudice against whose kid is whose.
Yeah, there's a few. I've heard a few
every kid belongs to the village. That was normal.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a society defines and sets the parameters of what is normal.
That's why the
homosexuality was very normal in ancient Greece. You weren't a man until you received man milk at 13.
Yeah,
that was normal.
Right.
It's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, but that's what the
I'm not saying anyone's right. I'm just
there is
saying,
no right or wrong. There can't be.
I'm just saying. Well, I think it's wrong to get a blowjob off of a 13-year-old. But I'm just saying it's weird how a society defines normality.
But that's what we're saying now. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, thinking that these moral lines that we're drawing come from some innate compass that we have. That's like, 13-year-olds shouldn't give blowjobs to grown men, or murder's bad, or whatever. It is completely arbitrary. Well, we've decided, we've come to a certain point through time where we've realized that this set of rules guarantees the most productivity. It's unproductive for me to kill you. It's unproductive to mess with kids when they're underage. It's unproductive. That's the only reason why these things are wrong, quote unquote. It's because they're unproductive. They cause damage that's not worth the what you're getting in return for the damage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're taking away a person is not worth just the pleasure of whatever. If murder was legal, we'd be making fun of people who hadn't murdered yet. You haven't murdered yet? What are you, a pussy? When are you gonna, dude? We're going this weekend. We're gonna buy you a new shirt. We're gonna get you some knives. What do you want to use? A knife? A gun?
100%.
What are you gonna use? You're gonna use a gun, pussy. Look at this cunt. He's gonna use a gun.
He's making a list,
you know
checking
what
it twice.
We would be whatever works.
You
man.
would murder. Probably.
Whatever works. Whatever works so that we can get along. That's what works. Like, like even like the whole democracy versus dictatorship thing. Democracy and dictatorships, they're both good. They have their advantages and disadvantages. In a democracy, you have a way better quality of life. You're likely to have more freedom, but things are going to move really slow because everyone's going to have to get on the same page to get shit to happen.
Fuck, just look at America in the last,
and
last 10 years.
Exactly.
Since they stacked the Senate to block anything from Obama till now.
Any democracy.
But
Going back to Rome or any filibustering the fuck out of everything.
I understand your point.
And it's a huge disadvantage in
whereas dictatorships, you just hope he doesn't go or she doesn't go mad.
As long as he's making decent decisions, it's cool.
As long as they don't go bananas.
He's moving fast. Like his decisions, a dictatorship is a democracy. A dictatorship has a huge advantage militarily because it can move. Hey, we're invading tomorrow.
Like Hitler,
I don't got to agree with. No one's got to agree with me.
Like let's say, like Hitler with the autobahn. You woke up, you get the paper. Hitler's building an autobahn. Fuck, he's putting freeways, from Frankston to everywhere.
No,
woohoo!
No need for a referendum. How am I using this budget? Is this a good idea? What are the pros and cons? What about the native lands that he's going to take?
But then he goes, "Oh, we're going to Poland next week." Oh, dope. He's crazy.
I mean, even that wasn't a bad mood. If they'd won, it wouldn't have been bad. Like, you know what I mean? If you're a Jew, it's kind of bad. But
it's bad if you're a Polish person as well.
Yeah, if you're a Polish person
and
as well.
I mean, I saw the city what he did to it. Like,
true.
Fuck, it's fucking weird.
True.
Warsaw.
True.
It's a weird place.
But
I love it, but it's fucking weird.
And power corrupts. That's a disadvantage of dictatorships. Even if you got a good one, eventually he's going to go nuts.
Well, this is my theory. When politicians get elected, they have to take mushrooms on live TV on a couch and then like take handfuls and handfuls just so we can self-work, just go right deep inside to see who they are. Because politicians scare me. Like I think I'm a very humble person. I think I've got good material. And I'm humbled when people laugh a lot, and then I come off stage and go, "Thank you very much. I'll work harder." A politician thinks, "Nah, man, I know what needs to be done. I know how it needs to be done. I'm the fucking guy. My answer is my way is the way.
Yeah,
come with me, everyone." That's a lot of fucking, for the lack of a better word, that's a lot of balls, man.
That's right. Then there's two kinds of politicians.
Those people scare me.
They should. They're dangerous people.
Dangerous.
And
so take mushrooms on live TV. I want to see what's inside you, cunt.
And they'll freak out. That's the thing. There's two types.
Why do you want it? Why have you got so much ego?
There's two types of politicians. There's that type, and then there's the other type of. I actually prefer this type. People hate this type, but I actually prefer them. It's the royal class, where you're just born into the shit, and you're just one of them now.
They shit me to tears because all they did 1,000 years ago, they stormed the castle, chopped someone's head off.
No, I'd rather them because this person thinks he's a god or some shit. This person is at least getting pushed upon him.
Yeah.
That he has to do it, and he might turn out to be a good cunt. There's some good cunts that come out of that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like you know what I mean? Like George Bush had to go on a date with Trisha Nixon when he was like 14. It was like a royal arranged like date. Like
really?
Like we're the Bushes and you're the Nixons, and we're
to try and establish some sort of dynasty.
When you're in one of those families, you're basically royalty. Every movement you make is for the family.
The Bushes were royalty, weren't they?
The Kennedys, all of them.
The Kennedys were royalty.
All of them. All of those.
I don't know enough about the Kennedys, but I know someone high up wiped them out.
Well, the Kennedys were.
They got rid of the brothers. They got rid of John. They got rid of Robert. They got rid of.
I mean, if you watch The Irishman, it's the mafia because they did get rich off bootlegger money. The Kennedys were bootleggers. That's how they got rich. That's true. I don't know if the mafia really fucked them all up like that, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So, but I mean, dictatorships. I mean, as long as shit moves quick, man, and that's the other thing with democracies, man. Like, they always trick us on the news with showing us domestic shit all the time. Domestic shit doesn't matter. Whatever your budget is, right? You're going to shift 100 million from education to healthcare. Great. You're going to shift 50 million from education to whatever. The only important thing that actually makes a difference, bro, is what you're doing with overseas. What are you doing in foreign... What deals are you making over here? who is the next threat that we need to worry about. That's the shit that can actually fuck you up, and they never report on that. And no one cares about that really.
But they do. They're like
they're very quiet about it.
They're
though.
always on China's case, like China pushing into South China Sea. China upset at our purchase of anti-air missiles. Blah blah blah.
Don't you feel like it's a side thing though? They always like, yeah, this happened. And then
Well,
that's
what's
it.
our real threat? We've got no real other threat, man. Why New Zealand's they invade with fucking bouncers and Maoris every few years. That's about it.
Well, we don't have threat like that, but we are a country that is at the mercy of whoever wins the title. We're not contenders, right? So
No.
we're at the we have to make sure we're friends with whoever has the belt, or we're in a position where we may not be friends with the person who has the belt, but we're in best interests of that person to be on their side.
I think
and
we're pretty
be helped.
safe, man, because we're kind of we're very much aligned with the UK and America. If they go down,
Yeah, but they got the belt right now. That's what I'm saying. They're under threat right now.
well, they won't relinquish that.
It's not about relinquishing. No one ever relinquishes the belt. It gets taken.
It's not going to get taken from
It gets
them.
taken by force.
If it gets taken by America, if global supremacy shifts from America, the UK, it will be a completely different world.
Yeah, well.
And it will be stained with nuclear radiation because bombs will go off.
You think they're going to let bombs off before losing?
They won't. Yeah, America,
I don't think so.
It'll get to that.
I don't think so.
But how can you have a war in 2021 when it's all technological?
I know it's different.
What's going to happen?
It's gonna be this proxy thing,
How's it
like
gonna
the Arab
play out?
Spring.
Yeah,
Arab Spring, like that.
Exactly.
They're gonna trigger revolutions in other countries.
And proxy wars just run their course, and that's it. People just go back to school after it's just two kids fighting it out at lunchtime.
Yeah.
That's what a proxy war is.
Yep.
I don't get it. I can't see. Maybe everything is set. This is the way it is.
I don't know. I think we still got more to go. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where travel gets quick enough that we're all some global country. Like that's the direction it's moving. But I don't know how long that's gonna take. But eventually,
globalization, one culture.
I mean, we already got one internet.
We have.
That's the.
I'll give you an example. I'm just looking at I think I'm going to run out of battery soon. I'm just thinking of one culture. Look at stand-up comedy. When I started, was an underground form of entertainment. Now it's very popular in Australia because it's exposed to Facebook, the Netflix, all these streaming platforms. Stand-up has become, let's go out and see some stand-up.
I wanted to ask you that actually on my way here. I was thinking about that because I was wondering, like, it's almost like one of those obsolete things that happen to professions. But when we were kids, we only had stand up. I didn't have memes. I didn't have all this extra comedy that's just thrust in my face every day like these kids do. So I actually needed stand up. Stand up was my dose. I'd go on YouTube and watch stand up, or I had that, or I had it on Comedy Central. Those were the only two, and that was my dose of funny. It was either that or a comedy movie or an album or something. I didn't get, or little joke books and stuff, but I didn't get memes and there's so much funny out there now. Do you think there's a little bit of desensitization where people don't need to rely on stand up like that, or comedy movies like that, like the traditional wholesome comedy entertainment that we normally get it from, because they're getting it so much. They're getting their fix already so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yes and no. I think the live form of stand-up comedy will always be around.
You're right.
There's nothing like the buzz of being in a live show. I've just watching my friends and cousins and family's faces when they come to a live show. Their posture lifts. They're all excited. I can't believe we're going to see live stand-up. And sometimes I forget and I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. And I think they're exposed to so much stand-up now that they've become more comedy savvy. And I think that's a good thing.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, that's going to make everyone better.
But I think it's important not to watch... Oh, this is just me. It's just me who's speaking. But I think I try not to watch too much because I'm scared it's going to steer me in a certain direction.
Yeah. I don't mean for comics. I mean just audience.
Audience, yeah.
But yeah. Comics, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I used to watch a lot of stand-up. I felt like... I had the same issue, but I felt like if I watch heaps of stand-up, though, then it won't be a problem. Because, like, it'd be too many directions. For me, I'll be able to steer. I'll just make sure I always am doing heaps. So. But, yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, it's been fun, man. We've got to wrap it up.
Yeah,
I'm going to run out of battery.
Yeah, easy, man.
Do you want to plug anything, or where can people see you?
I was supposed to be on a Gorilla next Wednesday.
Fuck, that's gone now.
I guess it's gone because of lockdown. But
read book at Gorilla.
Yeah,
I'll plug it. There's an open mic room in Hawthorne, Gorilla, at the Resistance Bar. It's a great little space.
Yeah, I was gonna feature there too, to do a 20.
Good room.
But yeah.
The mic's shit, but it's a good room.
A horrible mic, horrible. But yeah, now we'll see. Now I guess we'll see. We'll see what the.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
But when this airs, we'll be out of lockdown. Hopefully. Fuck, we'll see. Anyway, Dhruv, thanks a lot, bro.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. And hey, listen.
Yo.
Best of luck with you have a strong interviewer, man. You have really good natural interviewing skills.
Thank you. I'm interested.
And yeah, you are. That's the key, really.
Maybe I should have called my show "Everyone's Interesting" because I really genuinely believe everyone is fucking interesting.
Everything's interesting.
And everything's interesting.
Everything is interesting.
Everything is interesting.
It's majestically, horrifically interesting.
If you don't think it is, we're all made up of 15 particles. Everything you see. It's fucking weird, man. 15 little particles, and they were born 14 billion years ago in a fucking explosion, and they formed atoms, and then we're here, and it's bizarre. It's fucking strange as fuck.
It's beautiful, though. I love it.
Very beautiful.
Love it, man. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
See you, buddy.